So, the reason I wasn't around last week to do an episode recap, in case anyone was wondering, is I was out of town and doing stand up and all that good stuff. But since this last episode and this episode sort of went together rather well, let's just all assume this was intentional. And while we're on the subject, the ending to last week's episode I found to be particularly strange. I'm just going to go right into it. It just sort of felt like the episode didn't have an ending. It just sort of stopped mid-sentence and then just picked up right where it left off, which is good. It means that we're at the point where it will just stop feeling episodic and everything's going to feel like one big story that we're just getting in 24-minute intervals. But at the same time, it was an awkward way to end an episode, which I guess is why it's working well. And we'll get to the rest of that in a minute, but first up, everything with Crow. The whole internet's going crazy. Crow's back, and I know Crow's that popular, but I like that he's back. I mean, I like Crow as a character, but let's just say I could go on a whole rant for how I thought that the characters in 5Ds were used inefficiently. But that's a rant for another day. We're on this episode, and I like the fact that they're not overplaying that he's a returning character. It is very much, it feels like this is just, he should naturally be here because this is his part of the world, and helping kids is what he does. It makes it good for the returning fans because they obviously know all this, and for new fans, they don't know this character, and they're getting presented him in a way that isn't just shoving him down your throat. It feels very natural, and it's just working out incredibly well. And on top of that, I did like the whole sort of like Serena's just like, screw you, I'm doing my own thing. Same with Sawatori, as that's what those characters would do. Any other sort of like series would just have them sit around and do nothing until, it's time for everyone to meet up just cheap and conveniently. I'm glad they're going off on their own. They're going to meet everyone cheap and conveniently, I'm sure, but it was nice to just see them take initiative while Yuya is still very nervous and not sure how to take the lead or get everyone to do as he says, just sticking with Reira, which will probably get really interesting. The other thing that sort of bugged me was last episode, Yuzu and Yugioh just sort of being like, help! The fusion dimension's attacking. That was dumb. But I like the idea that Yuya and crew told Crow instantly. I always hate it when it's, we're going to keep a secret and all this good stuff. And yeah, Crow doesn't really believe him at first, but I'm glad that they had the respect and decency for him to actually say that. Aichi. But yeah, that was good. And then everything with Dennis and Gogenzaka. I finally am on board with Gogenzaka. He wasn't used effectively with the other main characters because they all have the strong moral high ground, so does he, so he's just white noise compared to them. But here, he's actually used really efficiently. He gets to be that strong moral sense, and because he is so big, and because of like the Super Heavy Samurais, it sort of makes that feel a lot more natural. While you have Dennis and Shun and frickin' Kanye West, who just sort of do their own thing. They don't really they're not bad people, but they do what they do because they want to do it. It's not about morals. It's not about anything. And on a related note, I have a feeling with Dennis, it's just going to turn out he's not on the side of the fusion dimension. He just does what he has to get by. He wants to entertain, and he wants to entertain Abdul, but he also wants to survive. So that's the only reason he's helping the fusion dimension. And I'm glad they're not just making Dennis seem like a mustache-twirling villain, and they are letting that play out naturally, as every other show would just have him constantly remind you, he's the bad guy, he's the bad guy. Here it's more natural, and that's why it works, because everyone is finally in a stable role that they are being used effectively in. That was cool. The duel was cool, and I like the idea that Kurosaki is noticing that something's up with Dennis. Someone finally is, and that's really good. But where did Dennis get pendulums? Was this brought up beforehand? Did he mention something? I know Reiji can make pendulums, but did he make some for Dennis? They didn't say. If so, does everyone have pendulums now? I mean, I'm fine with that, but please address these sort of things. We need to know, Yu-Gi-Oh! But on top of that, really solid 2 episodes, and hopefully more will happen in the next one to warrant its own video. But anyways, what did you think? In the comment section below, give me your thoughts on these past 2 episodes, what you think about Crow coming back, or any characters you want to see come back. And as always, click to like and click to subscribe, because let's see who comes back next.